One thing that I have always wondered is how these people who seem to be really busy that at big companies are just pumping out such massive amounts of content at a high quality, at a seemingly rapid clip. And I actually figured it out a couple weeks ago. I was at a super high end business event, and some of the folks there, who I talk about in today's hot seat episode, were there talking about how they do what they do, and it something clicked for me, and it came up in this conversation with Greg on this hot seat where he asked me about repurposing podcast episodes, and so in this hot seat, you're actually going to hear a really, really detailed analysis of how to repurpose content, of how it's done on a big scale, and how you can start now, even if you're not ready to spend the 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a month that a lot of these people are spending, but what you can do right now. So I hope that you enjoy it. This was a light bulb moment for me when I first learned about it, and it was fun to be able to share it. So have a listen, and I'll be back at the end to share another episode to check out when you're done. And we'll get into Greg, your question, and end it on that one. So why don't you ask your question real quick again, and then we'll hit that, and then we've had everybody.
Yeah, you shared this really great mind map. Well, it was great, but if not overwhelming.
It was very overwhelming.
Repurposing that you did. It was amazing, and I saved it and revert back to it. Where I find myself is as I do each episode of my podcast. So just quickly, mine is I usually try to do 2 a month because they're almost always guests. So booking the guest and finding the time, and then some editing post that. But they tend to be within my niche, known figures. So when I share that with them, that gets a lot of traction from their audiences and otherwise.
There's a full section about you in the book. Did you know that?
I remember you DM'd me, said, "Hey, can I use this?" And I said, "You got to give me a little bit more time to get my numbers up in my business."
I'll send you it afterwards.
That's
I'll send
awesome.
you what I got afterwards. Anyway, go on. So I'm very familiar with your podcast.
It's not a don't do this part of the book, I hope, right?
No. It's a you're nailing it and doing it right part of the book.
Okay, good. So where I find myself kind of like earlier with the setters, or I call a relationship manager, maybe we can use that.
Works. Okay.
Is I get bottlenecked at taking those hour, 90 minutes sometimes, and there's so many great things in there. I don't have the time and resources to go back and make small reels and clips and use them and really get them out.
That's a long game. So what Greg's referring to is kind of my, call it like master long-term plan. And it is big and messy and expensive. And what it is you basically cut up, you recognize that Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts are all effectively short form videos. Call it short, call them just shorts. And there might be some contextual editing between them, but probably not. They're more or less the same thing. But you really shouldn't post the same video to all four at the same time. You kind of want to like mix them around over time. And so what a lot of people do, and I'm sure you've seen this all over the place, is they create one big piece of content, they create one big show, call it, and cut it up and use those as shorts to try to promote the big show. Where, I mean, because it's so overdone now, that's not working that well anymore. Because in order to have a really effective short form piece of content, you basically need a hook and a story and what I call punch, or like a hook story call to action, like boom, boom, boom. And you need it structured that way to be effective for a piece of short form content. Could be writing, could be video. And it's very hard to do that in a long podcast, in an interview. So they don't work that well. What I am finding is working much better is teasing a podcast in a story and offering to send the link, as opposed to like a snippet of a video. That's
just
working.
like a talking head, like, hey, I just did this. If you want the link, just let me know.
Not talking head. I just do it as a written thing, dude. It's
Yeah.
just, it's this. I mean, I'll show you the one that's going to go up, I think tomorrow, maybe the next day. This is literally, can you see this?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
This is literally it. This is, I think, going up Thursday, maybe. This is the one that we put up last week. Although that one didn't perform that well. I knew it wouldn't, but I had to write it quick. This one did well. So it's very, very straightforward, right? You've got your hook. You've got a little bit of intrigue or story or promise. And then you've got your call to action. DM me for the link.
Yeah.
And then everybody who messages you wanting that link, what I do is I'll create just a little PDF, or actually it's often Carmelina who creates a little PDF with that thing. So where's the PDF? Oh, here. So like, here's the PDF. Like this is it. It's one page. And it's just like, maybe there's a framework. Maybe there's, hey, they gave 3 tips for whatever, hurting less when you surf, whatever it is, right? You know, I'll send you the cheat sheet with the 3 tips they talk about. And all that does is gives them an extra little incentive if they know that it's a podcast episode to respond to you to get the links. There's like an extra thing that they're going to get.
Yeah.
And then you follow up
your email list and having it there, and then putting it into your funnel for your DM too. Or
so we just do it straight in DM. We don't do it through email or anything.
Yeah.
And then Carmelita responds and says with the links and a little bit of a sell for the thing, sends the 2 links, and then follows up with another question that says, hey, you know, the same thing, like, what are you hoping to achieve with this? Like that question, right? Hey, you going on a surf trip anytime soon? Or whatever it is. But, hey, do your knees hurt when you surf? Does your back hurt when you surf? And then you're just in a consultative post. So you're basically doing 2 things. You're promoting the podcast episode, but in promoting every single podcast episode, you're also starting a conversation.
Yeah.
And that is working better to promote and grow our podcast than anything else. Because you're telling people specifically what to do. And it's way easier, dude.
It's way easier to execute. I mean, there's no editing for that at all. You're just like, write this, have this short little thing, and then you can reutilize those too.
And then you can reuse them. So over time, like we'll do it. I mean, you don't even need to do a new episode. Like one of the most popular ones that we ever did, we had over 3,000 responses for it, was for the artificial intelligence episode that we did. And that was episode 17. We're in episode 123 just went live. Like you can just go, because it just doesn't matter. You're sending people a direct link to the thing. That's one of the beautiful things about podcasts, about stuff, that content pieces that hang around for a long time. I am doing more, we're interviewing a whole bunch of video stuff, but wait for me to figure that out, because I'm nervous that a video team is going to be able to execute well what I want to do. And it's going to be very expensive. I mean, my guess is that I'm going to be producing all the content. My guess is purely editing and repurposing and publishing will be well over 10,000 a month that I'm going to be spending. Probably more, to be honest. And that's not including a full-time media manager that I've brought on to manage it as well. So probably closer to 15 to 20,000 a month. Easy, and that's to start.
But that's obviously way farther down the line for me. But it's also, once you have those, then you can be reusing them as well. Like mine are not timely. Like these are interviews with people within my niche that a year from now it's going to be the same thing.
So here's what we're doing, and we're at time. I'm happy to stay on for a couple more minutes for anybody who wants, but if you have to pop off, I totally get it. Here's what we're doing. So we had a content call with the legacy crew last week where I walked through this. And I spent not last week, the week before that, I was in California for a business event. It wasn't a fitness business, high-end business event. And one of the guys who we spent a lot of time with there was Ryan Holiday. And you want to talk to somebody who does content but better, but as good or better than anybody else on the planet, and using it to build a business, it's him. But at the same time, I'm like, how the hell are you doing this? You're running a huge business, you're consulting with other people, you're writing books, and you're pumping out hundreds of pieces of content a week. And I know how he does it now. And when you look at it, it's obvious. And now it's obvious amongst a lot of other people as well. And so again, this is probably farther down the line, although you could start this process now. I don't have our system set up for it. This is one of the things that Jennifer, who's my media manager, who's come on, is setting up at this moment. But the idea behind it is you create you modulize your content. And so whenever you create something, whether it's a podcast episode, whether it's like a top 10 list, you actually don't necessarily film that whole thing at once. Instead, you film it as 10 individual pieces, and those 10 pieces can be put together as one podcast episode or one YouTube or whatever it is. But each individual one can actually be brought in different places as well. So they can be used individually as shorts, or they can be used in different podcast episodes, in different YouTube videos. And then over time, as you create more of these pieces of modular content, you need to create less new stuff. So if you watch like some of the Daily Stoic videos on their YouTube channel, you'll notice this. Look for any of their videos that are like top 8 Stoic leadership values or whatever, right? You go in there, you'll notice that Ryan does like a little bit of an intro. So that's always net new. So his media manager will be like, yo, Ryan, we're doing this video. Give me like spit on this for 2 minutes or whatever, right? He gives the intro. And then actually he's usually gone. Like he sends that to his media manager and he's gone because they have so much back content. And you can tell because what the video then is there's a little like spacer thing that introduces each one. It's like number 1, whatever the topic is. Virtue is leadership or whatever, right? I don't really follow the Stoic stuff, but something like that. And then it's a snippet, it's a module, it's a piece of a video from somewhere else at another time. In most cases, could be a live talk he did, could be another video he did for something else for another one of these lists. Because like you do a video on performance for surfing, you could also use that for pain reduction. You could also use that for how many other things?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Unlimited. Yeah.
And you'll notice it like the same video will be like 9 or 10 different pieces. And it's like, yo, you were a baby in that one. Like that was like 10 years ago. Or you're on stage, or, oh, I could tell that this was filmed at the same time as you did the intro because you're in the same time and space.
But to the viewer, it doesn't matter. It's just information that's compartmentalized in a way that they can also take it in really well.
Yeah. And so his podcast is like that too. So the Daily Stoic podcast, right? It's the same idea. And he'll sometimes even the longer episodes will be compartmentalized. So my plan, my hope is to turn the Obvious Choice podcast into a daily podcast. And the in-between episodes will be sort of 5 to 15-minute episodes on one thing. Will be one module at a time. And then we'll have one interview, and then we'll have one longer piece. But the way that they achieve this is they have a tagging system. So anytime that a piece of content is created, his media manager, it'll be usually a bigger piece. Like if it's like a live talk. So basically like he gave a talk and then he did a very intimate like Q&A thing. And he just sets up a GoPro with a little mic on the top of it and it just films him. That's all it is. There's nobody else there. And he just takes that video. He doesn't even look at it. He just takes that video and he just sends it to his media team. And their job is to identify all that kind of quick hit stuff and put a tag to it. And then as they're thinking up ideas, the SEO team for his YouTube channel, or whatever it is, will be like, hey, here's a concept. And then they'll go through the tag that aligns with that concept. And they'll pull in the stuff. And then they'll say, Ryan, we need 2 minutes on this. Right. So that's how they do it.
Yeah. That's a really efficient system. I mean, he's like, this is what we need. You do a video intro for that with the voiceover component for it, and it repurposes all of the content that's already been created.
So that's what this is. So I'm starting this now, but you could start it too. But that's what this is, and I'll probably record it tomorrow. But basically, the way that I organize all of these types of videos is I just have hook, story, punch, hook, story, punch. And each one of these I might talk about for 10 minutes. It's the video team's job to make it into a short. It's the video team's job to edit it down. It's not my job to think in terms of shorts. It's my job to think in terms of headlines and stories, right? But it's not my job to bring it down. And then what our team will do is they'll tag each of these individual ones. So like the titles of it, if you can do it, so can everybody else, is one. The power of not making sense is another. Living in a trustless world is another. Winning the internet, winning business are two different things is another. Right. So these are going to be in this one video and podcast episode, which is going to be X number of counterintuitive thoughts about standing out online and becoming the obvious choice. Cool. Well, all of them can be used in multiple things, and you can have multiple tags on it. So the only reason that I tell you this is not to say like you should build this system by yourself, because it's a beast, but you can start tagging your stuff now.
It's
which
also
is something I didn't do.
Creating things that are just my own episodes. So I'll just do, ask me anything one sometimes, or, something like that. And I'm using it to create that stuff. In that zone, I could be thinking that way,
You could be thinking that way, and then afterwards you can be tagging it that way as well. Mm-hmm. So that when the time comes for you to, if you ever decide to scale, then you can.
Yeah. That's awesome, John. Thanks, man.
Yeah. John, again, thank you so much for listening to that. I hope that it gave you some insight into how this is done on a big scale, because I don't know about you, man, but I always wondered how the heck these people were doing what they're doing. Now, that was a call on my high-end mentorship. That was a hot seat. If you are interested in scaling your online fitness business, please go over to Instagram. I'm at It's Coach Goodman. Send me a DM that just says mentor, and we'll have a conversation to see if my mentorship is right for you and the next steps. If you're looking for another episode to listen to right now, I'm going to recommend you scroll back and check out episode 66. It's called Choosing What the Fuck You Should Be Doing. Amber, who is the co-host on many of these episodes with me, said that this was her favorite episode, probably the best one that we've ever recorded, when it was actually recorded. This is going to help you figure out your path, not somebody else's path, not the path that somebody else says that you should do. This is going to give you a process to figure out the path for you, which is the most important path that you can choose. So that's episode 66, Choosing What the Fuck You Should Be Doing. Hope that you love it, and I'll be back again soon.